Precision rifle matches and preparation this week on Mail Call Mondays. I'm John McQuay with 8541 Tactical, and this is Mail Call Mondays, the show that answers your questions about precision rifles, optics, and equipment. Well, last night I got a chance to take part in the Guns, Guts, and Glory weekly live show over on the Reality Survival channel. We'll leave a link down in the description below in case you didn't get a chance to catch that last night. They do this show every Sunday at 9 Central Standard Time or 10 Eastern Standard Time. So if you get a chance next Sunday, make sure you go over and check it out. They allow you to ask questions through the YouTube chat, and they'll answer them on the air. There's a little bit of feedback with the audience, but they also have several different topics that they cover and a panel of gun enthusiasts that will answer them, and I was really grateful to be able to take part in that show and look forward to doing it again in the future. So again, if you didn't get to catch it last night, go over to the Reality Survival channel, click in the link below, and check out the show. It's about an hour and a half long, I think, is where we cut it off at. So it's a good little bit of information to sit back and view. Now, on for our show this week. Normally we pull several different questions, but I got a rather long email from Jason, and he asked a bunch of different questions about shooting rifle matches, preparing for rifle matches, and what to expect. I took 4 of his main questions, and we're going to cover them here in the show today. The first part of the question that he asked is, what is the typical format for a practical precision match? Now, the interesting thing about precision rifle matches or tactical rifle matches is we really don't have a governing body. In pistol matches, you have IDPA or IPSC or several different groups that kind of set out rules and formats for their matches so they're consistent across the country. We don't really have that with precision rifle. We have the Precision Rifle Series, which was trying to bring together match directors from all across the country and kind of make a national points race. But even within the Precision Rifle Series, match directors are still really free to set up their matches in whatever format they want. And this is a good thing for us, because when you roll into a precision rifle match, you really need to be prepared for anything. You need to be prepared to shoot off barricades, shoot from the prone, shoot from different obstacles, run and gun, that kind of thing. From shooting several different precision matches, though, the things that I see over and over again is there is usually some kind of stage that really tests the razor's edge precision of the system and the shooter, and that's usually done with some kind of paper drill, either 100, 200, sometimes even 300 yards. But it will be a paper stage where you're shooting very, very small targets for score. Some will go on and they'll do an actual long-range accuracy stage where you're shooting paper or cardboard targets at 800, 900 yards. But the vast majority of precision matches that I've been involved with are shooting steel, and you're shooting steel at various different ranges and from varying different positions. Some may have you shooting off a barricade or through a barricade. Sometimes the barricades are rather unstable, so it really requires a lot of discipline in order to keep the rifle steady through shooting. Some of them will throw in a unsupported stage where you just have to stand and shoot your rifle either slung, or I really like the ones that will do the classic positions, standing, kneeling, sitting, and require you to manage the support of the rifle. So no tripods, no bipods, nothing like that, no shooting sticks, just you and the sling. Those just really within those different groups, you can get incredibly creative and do all kinds of stuff. You can do time stages where you have a very, very limited amount of time to engage multiple targets at multiple ranges. They can do unknown distance stages where you don't have any information on the targets, you just simply have to roll and go. So it requires you to be very well rounded in the precision rifle shooting skill set to be able to do very well in those matches. Jason's next question was, what are the most common / popular practical matches or match series? Well, I kind of touched on that on the previous question. The only series that is out there right now that I'm aware of is the Precision Rifle series, and I'll leave a link to the PRS website down below. With the Precision Rifle series, if a match director wants his match included in the Precision Rifle series, then all he needs to do is contact PRS, get the match listed, and they have a few rules that they have to follow as far as how the scoring goes. And then you will notify the Precision Rifle series that you were involved in this match and that you want your scores to count towards your ranking in the series. And then the Precision Rifle series will give the shooters that are involved in it a national ranking, which is kind of a neat thing. Last year I did not shoot enough PRS matches to be able to be ranked. You have to actually shoot 3 PRS matches at a minimum to be ranked. You can shoot more and your best scores go towards your ranking, but it's a minimum of 3 if I remember correctly. I've got to look at the website again. You also have to pay a registration fee to PRS to be ranked. They are really the only series. Now there are a ton of different matches all across the country to shoot. There's several are put on at Rifles Only. There are several put on by Sniper's Hide. This last weekend was the Sniper's Hide Cup, which is a very large match. The match director, Frank Golly, put up some pictures and some descriptions of the prize tables in that match, and I believe he said there were 10 tables and something like $170,000 worth of prizes on the tables. So some of these matches get to be rather large. I will be shooting the Oregon Sniper Challenge later this year in August, and that usually ends up being a very, very nice prize table at that match. That match fills up. This year, that match is really being toned down to try to be geared a little bit more towards military and law enforcement shooters. It's a 308 limited match, but it's a very, very nice match. Steve Heisman goes to a lot of trouble to really put in a ton of different stages, and that's one of the few matches where you actually get to shoot from a hovering helicopter. So it's got some very interesting stages on it. Now Jason's third question is, what do you do to train for a match? Drills, mental, physical. Now this is really the key thing, and it kind of leads into his next question, which is, not every shooter is by 1,000-yard range. What are your recommendations for short range practice and dry fire practice? Well, they all kind of tie together. How I train for matches is mainly I will shoot our local matches. They're only a $10 entry fee. We only go out to 500 yards because that's the limit of our local range that these matches are held on. But within that limit, we really crunch down the time constraints, which make you run faster and make you concentrate harder. And then the targets, you just reduce the size of the targets, and it still requires you to be very precise. The one drawback is you don't get as much experience calling the wind when you compress your ranges down to 500 yards as you do at a full 1,000-yard range. At 1,000 yards, the wind really plays a little bit more with your bullet than it does at the shorter range, because the bullet's slowing down, it's spending more time out in the wind. However, even in national level matches, you are taking the vast majority of your shots at, say, 700 and in. You're not taking a whole lot of really, really long shots. They do throw them in, and some of the matches will weight the longer shots to give you more points, to be more important than the shorter ones. But the majority of your shooting is going to be at, for instance, 700 and in. So you're not really seriously handicapped if you're limited to a 500-yard range, but still you need to try to get out to some longer ranges whenever you can. Now, what I do to practice, in addition to shooting our local matches, which really, they don't give me a choice on what I'm going to shoot on the day. They bring out the stages, and I have to adapt and overcome and do what I need to do to get the bullet on target. When I have the ability to do my own training, like on a day that I just go out to the range. What I have started getting into the habit of doing is, as soon as I show up, set up for an intermediate to long range cold bore shot. This really forces you to get into the game right off the bat with no warm-up time. On a match, you're not going to be given a chance to sit down and shoot a bunch of sighters and warm up and get feeling good about things. Usually you're going to be thrown into the mix right away. First shot downrange is going to be for score. Now, some of the matches will allow you 0 time before the match actually starts. If that's the case, take advantage of it. But for the most part, you need to be ready to go as soon as the match starts. So in your training, starting off with a cold bore shot is forcing you to get into that bubble and get into that concentration cold without any other shots downrange, without any dry fire time, etc. It also requires you to make a wind call really based off of no ballistic data, just what you see, what you observe, and what you have in your notes. So you don't get to fire around downrange, see where it impacts, and then correct your wind call based on that. You want to make sure that first round is the one that counts. Now, this is especially important for military or law enforcement snipers because the first shot may be the only one you get. So being able to get out, get that first cold shot downrange and make it count is really necessary. Now, after I've got that cold bore shot taken care of, I like to shoot dot drills sometimes, and each one of my range trips is usually different, so it's not a set pattern that I go through. But dot drills are great because they require you to get in and out of position, and there are a myriad of different ways to do a dot drill, but an example of one way to do it would be print out one of these sheets that has either 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch dots on it in series, say 5 rows of 5. And what you can do is take that first row of 5 and get down behind your rifle, get a nice comfortable position, fire a shot. Get up, stretch, relax, get back down behind the rifle, fire a shot. Continue to do that for 5 shots. Now that helps get you into the habit of getting down and building your position. Then what you'll do for the next one is start a time clock and require yourself to get down, get in position, and fire the shot in a time limit. Do that for 5 different shots. Then the next time, say, okay, for this one, we're going to get down, get into position, and we're going to fire 1 shot on each of the 5 dots before we get up. Get down and do that. Then get up. Now put a time constraint on it. You have to get down, go through, and fire each of the 5 dots for a time limit. And you can mix this up however you want to do it, but it's just a really good drill to teach you to drop into position, get into position quickly, and get that round downrange. And you'll see some interesting things with your results on the dot drill. But we could do a complete show just on dot drills, and I may look at doing that sometime in the future. When I'm doing my training, I like to throw in shooting from positions other than prone. Some matches there will be a lot of prone shooting. Some matches there will be very little prone shooting, and what prone shooting you get to do, you have to wrap around obstacles or you're twisted up behind rocks or all kinds of different stuff. So prone shooting is fairly easy. Once you've mastered prone shooting, that's where you need to build your fundamentals. You really need to break out and get into uncomfortable positions. One drill that I picked up from Derek Bartlett at Snipercraft is called a chair drill. And basically what you do is take a folding chair or whatever kind of chair you have. Folding chairs are good though because they have the stabilizers across the bottom of the chair legs. Set the chair out at your shooting position and practice shooting off the different levels of the chair. The rungs at the bottom, the seat of the chair back. You can practice shooting through the gap in the back of the chair. And it really requires you to change your body position because there aren't many levels on that chair that are at a perfect position for you. So you'll really have to adapt to make it work. Chair drill is easy because it's easy to take a folding chair and throw it in the trunk of most cars. A lot of ranges have folding chairs already there. You can do shooting off of benches if your range has a shooting bench, but instead of doing the traditional bench rest type shooting, just kneel down or squat down behind the bench and shoot across the bench as if the bench was a barricade itself. So even if you're limited to having to stay behind the lines at your range, you can do some different things to switch it up. Unsteady barricades are a really good thing. I've got one barricade that I call the ladder, that it's got pretty small stabilizing legs on it, and it looks just like a 2x4 ladder. It's got 3 different levels on it. It's a great barricade to practice on, because if you try to load the barricade, which means pushing the rifle into the barricade, it gets real unsteady and it wants to fall over. So you really have to try to mitigate the recoil when the rifle fires. You need to try to stay on target as easily as you can, or get back on target as quickly as you can without actually pushing the barricade over. Some of the matches that you run into, the barricades won't be staked down to the ground really well, so they do have some movement in them. And if you're really pushing and pulling on that thing, it can take you a long time to get back on target after you fire. So you're really only limited to your creativity. And I will try, as we get on a little bit later in the summer, to actually get some video out at some range times and show you some different training techniques that you can use when you're trying to build up for a match. Now, as I mentioned, you don't have to have a 1,000-yard range. You can do these things on a 200-yard range, 300-yard range. Ideally, you want something more than 100 yards. If you are shooting on a 100-yard range, you can do it. You just need to shrink those targets down. If you are constantly making hits, just time and time again, you're able to hit the target from any position, your target's too big or your position's too stable. You need to break something up. When we're training, we're not stroking our ego. If we are not missing the target, we're not pushing it hard enough. Now, that doesn't mean you want to go out and dump a whole magazine downrange and not hit anything. That may mean you push the difficulty level a little too far and you need to bring it back. But if I'm hitting every shot I'm making, it's time for me to increase the difficulty level so that I am on a more unstable platform, or I have to shoot on a smaller target. Now, the more unstable platform requires you to really dial in your body position and really control what you're doing. The smaller target at 300, 400, 500, 600 and more yards is going to require you to refine your wind call and make sure that you're not just slinging rounds downrange center mass and letting the wind blow them wherever they end up on the target. Really, the wind is the one thing that you will lack if you are shooting on limited range setups. The further you can push it out, the better, and the more you're going to have to deal with the wind. Now, one last thing is, what are we shooting at when we're doing these training drills? You can do paper, but what I see is when I'm shooting on paper, it takes me a whole lot more time to go grade the targets or go pace the targets, etc. So what I really like to do, I really like shooting on steel, especially when I'm training on barricades, because you have instant feedback on if what you did worked or didn't work. Bright white painted steel target, as the one right here, shows me hits very well. I can see this through even a relatively low-powered scope very well. Now, the target I've got here is a JC Steel Target Silhouette. It's a reduced size silhouette, and we'll leave a link for them in the description down below. We did a review on our website. JC Steel Targets puts out a very good product, and it's for a good cause. It goes to support the Jubilee Youth Ranch, and we are going to do a full review, video review on the JC Steel Targets here soon. They sent out one of their IDPA targets, and they sent out a nice reduced pepper popper that we've been using quite a bit. But steel targets have this wonderful ring to them that really is rewarding for some reason. For people that shoot steel a lot, you know that when you send that round down range and you get that ring back, it just makes you smile. So shooting steel targets really gives you a reward when you do everything right. And as I said, it saves time. You don't have to go down and look and see if you hit the target. You'll hear and you'll see. Now, shooting steel, since most of our matches we shoot steel at, shooting steel in training will help you out. And the big reason it will help you out is when you're shooting on the clock, you don't want to wait and grade the target. What you can do when you're shooting at intermediate ranges is when you pull the trigger, make sure you get on the target quick enough to see the splash. Either get your position solid, or if you're in a rickety barricade that's going to move, when the rifle recoils, get it back on target for the splash, because you'll see the bullet impact quite a while before you hear the ring of the target hitting. Now, that little bit of time can be a lifesaver if you're shooting multiple targets on the clock. So what I like to do is get back on as quickly as possible and see the splash on the target, and then I'm already moving to the next target, and a lot of times I'll have a fresh round bolted up and be in the process of pressing the trigger before I hear the ring from the last target that I hit. So there's a lot of time to be saved in seeing the splash and moving. This is why we put brakes on our match rifles, because they help us stay on target through recoil. Now, this is not always the case. If it's a target that I was able to call the shot and I know I hit the target, I don't even watch for splash. As soon as the rifle recoils and I called the shot and I know the shot is a good shot, I'm moving to the next target. This has bitten me in the butt before, where the wind switched up and the winds pushed my round off target. I've gone to switch to a different target, not heard the ring when it should have come back, and then had to swing back and re-engage the target. So it's all about playing the game, knowing your limitations, and knowing how quick you can move between targets. But if you have the resources, I know steel's expensive. If you have the resources, I highly suggest you pick up steel targets for training. Steel targets like this one are quick and easy to set up. It just goes on a metal fence post. You just take it out, drive it into the ground, drop the target on it, and you're ready to go. Depending upon where you're shooting, you may be able to leave the fence posts in the ground. They're pretty cheap, so I wouldn't worry about somebody stealing them. Whereas some of the more expensive target bases that I have, that will be some expensive scrap to lose. So go out and get yourself some steel. Targets this size or smaller are great if you're limited to, say, 500 and in. If you can really get out to 1,000 yards, then get some of the larger full-size IPSC or IDPA silhouette targets. Those will assist you in your wind call, because you can see when you hit on the edge or hit on the center, and that will let you get a good call. Finally, when you're going out in training, especially at long range, a spotter can be great assistance to you. He doesn't have to have a fancy spotting scope. He can just be on another rifle scope, but he needs to be on something that he can dial in and be able to see bullet trace. Especially when you're shooting at long range in the wind, it's very helpful to have somebody spotting for you, because they can tell you how far off the target you are. If you're even getting close, they can watch for splash, they can watch for trace, and they can get you called back onto the target. There is nothing more frustrating than going out and sending a magazine of rounds downrange and not hitting anything, but furthermore not knowing why you're not hitting anything, not having any idea which side you're missing to, if you're high, you're low, what the problem is. So spotters are great. Make friends with a guy that can call wind for you, that can watch your trace, and then of course return the favor, switch off, and spot for him. Spotters are great to keep your morale up, to tell you what you're doing, to tell you when you're doing a good job. So get a friend, take a friend out. Well, that's really all I have for the show this week. I do want to remind you, today is Memorial Day. This is not National Go Out and Barbecue Day. This is not National Go Out and Get Drunk and Fight with Your Family Day. This is Memorial Day. This is a time of remembrance for our warriors that have gone before us and that have paid the ultimate sacrifice. I know many of us have family that have been in the service and died. Many of us have family that have died in service of our country. So let's just take a moment as you go about your daily routine and remember them, and give thanks that we have such people that will pay the ultimate sacrifice so that we can continue to maintain the freedoms that we hold so dear. That's all I have for this week. Thank you very much for watching our show. And if you've got any questions, please leave them in the comments section below, or send them to us on Facebook or Twitter. If you're a subscriber, thank you very much. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Click that little button. It doesn't take any time whatsoever. Go ahead and do it now so you don't forget. It doesn't cost you anything. We won't send you a junk mail, and YouTube will let you know when we release our new videos. Until next time, get out and shoot!